one closet. Yeah, we're laughing while we live it. We got stories, we got wisdom, some things we probably shouldn't admit yet. Hey, yeah. Come on in, there's always room. Pull up a shelf, adjust your mood. We're talking life, we're talking soul. From clutter to cosmic truths untold. It's two in the closet. Zero shame and lots of sass. Get comfy, girl, 'cause we're diving into the good stuff. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, Jen. So mushrooms are having their moment.
They sure are. We are in mushroom
Yeah.
heaven
Yeah,
closets.
they're in our coffee, our smoothies, and depending on who you talk to,
Right.
our spiritual journeys. But what's the hype? What's healing? And what's hallucinogenic?
Exactly. Today we're diving into the world of fungi, functional mushrooms, magic mushrooms, and the mysterious microdose movement.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert, only one of these will have you talking to your furniture.
So let's start with the ones that don't make your couch sparkle.
I would love to hear that
Okay,
one.
these are the functional mushrooms. I discovered these about 6 years ago in a coffee alternative, and I have literally been hooked ever since. Now, we have a disclaimer that we are going to say during every segment of this episode. So, Jen, I'm going to let you dive into the first one.
Okay. We are not doctors, mycologists, or shamans, just two curious women talking about mushrooms and mindset. Nothing you hear today is medical advice. Always check with your healthcare provider before trying any supplement or mushroom, especially the magical kind. Just say it really fast.
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin is still illegal in most places, so do your homework and stay safe, smart, and legal.
And practice that word. Okay.
Yes.
We are first going to touch on functional mushrooms. So, these are the 9 non-psychedelic species. I have all my little notes here because I don't want to miss anybody. So they're used for wellness. So this is reishi, lion's mane.
Okay.
They're all mushrooms. Did you not read the script?
No, I did, but I'm
okay.
saying I've never done.
Well, these aren't doing mushrooms.
No, I
These are
know.
functional.
I know. I'm just
Functional meaning they boost your immune support, your focus, energy, stress reduction, and gut health. And mushrooms have been used in Easter. What? Did I say something funny?
No.
Okay. Did you think something funny?
Yeah, I thought you made a noise and it was funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mushrooms have been used in Eastern medicine for centuries, especially reishi, which is referred to as the mushroom of immortality. And shiitake. We know shiitake.
Yes.
We eat shiitake mushrooms,
Yes.
right? And Western
know.
wellness, that industry has rebranded them as biohacker fuel. There's a whole craze about biohacking, right? Reverse aging, all that stuff.
Right, right.
So mushroom coffee powders, capsules. I use the coffee form, but I know friends who have powder and they put it on everything, or capsules. So early evidence shows that there is some promise in immune modulation and neuroplasticity, which helps your brain, and antioxidants, but not miracle cures. So those are everyday mushrooms.
Okay.
And these, hold on, I want to go over a little bit. So reishi specifically is for immune support, stress relief, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and possibly liver support. There are lots of studies on these things, but of course they don't want to be conclusive just yet because this would turn the medical industry on its ear. Lion's mane is good for cognitive function, nerve growth, memory, and reduce mild nerve damage. Cordyceps support energy, exercise performance, and mitochondrial function. Chaga is antioxidant and anti-inflammatory immune support. I had a friend who had glioblastoma brain cancer, and she started making Chaga tea. Again, disclaimer, we're not doctors,
No.
but for the anti-inflammatory properties of it
Wow.
because of her brain tumor and the surgery and everything, and swore that it helped her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, turkey tail is for modulating your immune system, keeping it regular, and can be adjunct in cancer support. Again, that's interesting because she didn't use turkey tail, and then shiitake is polysaccharides, which support immune health and lowering cholesterol. Again, I'm gonna link some mushroom coffees in the show notes of this episode that I use because I have some favorites that I have been, like I said, been using for 5, 6, 7 years. So
I have a question.
yeah.
So I know there's different kinds of mushrooms, but when I hear of mushrooms, especially earlier on, I always thought, oh, the mushrooms, like the drug mushrooms. Now, drug mushrooms, the same is the other mushrooms, but there's lesser dose, or is it
No,
completely different?
they're different strains. It's like different types of grass. And I don't mean weed grass. I mean like grass, sawgrass. They're just the mushrooms you put on your pizza. Those are usually like white mushrooms, right?
Right.
They don't have, like, if you took a lot of those, you're not going to have the effect. Psilocybin is the mushroom
Got it.
that makes
Okay.
makes your couch sparkle. So
Or you talk to it.
the ones we just talked about are the everyday ones.
Right.
Now let's talk about the ones you don't want to accidentally sprinkle on your pizza, Jen.
Okay.
And I'm going to read the disclaimer before we dive in.
Yes.
We are not doctors, mycologists, or shaman, just two curious women talking about mushrooms and mindset. Nothing you hear today is medical advice. Always check with your healthcare provider before trying any supplement or mushroom, especially the magical kind. Psilocybin is still illegal in most places, so do your homework, stay safe, smart, and legal. Okay?
Sounds good.
So magic mushrooms are psilocybin.
Okay. They're
Okay.
the
Yes. They affect your serotonin and your brain network patterns.
Okay.
And I have notes, so excuse me while I
sure
that I do not miss anything.
This is great because I don't know that much about mushrooms.
Yeah. I have,
and I've learned quite a bit.
I've learned a little bit in the past few years. So, people that take magic mushrooms, psilocybin, describe ego dissolution, where you're having a spiritual connection and deep introspection, and you feel disconnected from the ego that, the personality that defines who you are in the
So you
linking.
go into a different
Dimension,
Yeah.
maybe, Johns Hopkins, NYU, UCSF, they have all done clinical studies that show potential for depression, anxiety, and addiction, and even end-of-life peace. I got on a webinar with an end-of-life doula, just like a birth doula,
Right.
end of life. And she uses mushrooms to help guide people into, and it's fascinating. I think that's probably how I want to go if I'm
I think so too.
because it's a very peaceful place, but it's fascinating. So
I think I want to read about that.
yeah, I can send you some links. So I know my personal experience, I have tried them and it does work for depression, and I'll go into that momentarily. But it's kind of the theory of the brain reset, that psilocybin can temporarily disrupt rigid thought patterns like loops, things like that, and let the brain kind of reorganize. So that's how I experience it. It's like it gets that constant loop chatter that sometimes is not in your highest and best.
Right. It's like you keep repeating over and over again.
And you get stuck in a spiral of, oh my God, the world's coming to an end, whatever that is.
And then it reorganizes. So
so it kind of unlocks that for you and kind of hits a reset button so you can have different thoughts.
Shit,
okay.
Maybe I should do it.
I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. This is a disclaimer. Federally, it's illegal in the United States. So some states, Oregon and Colorado, have decriminalized it under supervision. because it is a form of plant medicine, there are organizations like nonprofits that use it in their spiritual practice. It in some, I believe sometimes that is legal.
Yeah, if it's under control.
No, it's a spiritual ceremony.
Right. No. I'm saying if it's under.
No, it's because it's a spiritual ceremony.
Right. No, but I'm saying you have to have a leader to give it.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah,
That's
maybe.
what I meant.
Tap, tap, you're it. So there are risks, of course, bad trips, psychological distress, heart issues, psychosis. Years ago, I went with a group of singles down to Mexico. We rented a house on the beach, and they all wanted to take mushrooms, and I was Miss Goody Two Shoes. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I don't want anything to do with it. I will be the den mom, the mom, right? Again, right?
So everyone's okay.
Make sure everybody lives to tell the tale. So this one guy ate a bunch of mushrooms, and we were on a cliff, at the beach, and it was dark. It was nighttime, and he went out and sort of disappeared for a while.
Wow.
And I'm like, he wasn't my friend. He was a friend of a friend. So I'm like, you should go check on your friend. And they were in their little happy place. But he had gone out, and much like ayahuasca, when you take ayahuasca plant medicine, you vomit and then you have your experience. Well, he went out and threw up on a cliff. Wow. And then was sitting out there, which I was worried, because if he fell, like, he would fall to his death. Like, that's not a good environment for, come on, guys, that would be classified as a bad trip as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I would say.
Anyway, so I was the mom that made sure. Finally, he came back in and he curled up next to the stereo and played Something in the Air Tonight until we took the CD and launched it, because he was like, this is the most beautiful song ever. Right. So anyway, I don't know what that was all about. So I didn't love that. And it never made me want to do anything like that.
Yeah, that seems scary to me.
So if you're embarking on those types of journeys, like, your mindset, your environment, and your guidance matter deeply, right? You don't do something that's going to alter your brain without an intention or a guide to, like, walk you through whatever you're experiencing. If you're macro dosing, because we're going to talk about microdosing, but macro dosing is when you literally have those hallucinogenic experiences. It's like taking acid, right? So you want to make sure that you're safe if you're going to do it. And again, it's illegal, so use your own judgment.
Right. Exactly. And also, something funny, if your set and setting is your cousin's basement with a lava lamp, that's not integration, that's a hazard.
Yes, it is. Spiritually, I find it fascinating how plants, and in this case fungi, seem wired to show us ourselves, because I have had friends who have taken plant medicine journeys, and they have, like, been reintroduced to parts of themselves that they didn't know before, and healed things, and, like, plants have spoken to them. Again, you take this for whatever, but I believe them. I believe that I have had people come out of experiences like that with healing. Why doesn't the Western world want us to know that? Because if we knew that it was accessible and it was in nature, they'd want to bottle it and put a label on it, and call it a drug, and charge you 10,000 times more than going and picking it out in the forest. So and it became a talking point back in the 60s and 70s, when, like, the Haight-Ashbury, up in San Francisco and all that stuff, people were tripping and doing all that stuff, and they were seeing the world as it truly is, and governments don't like that. And that's just a political aside, but that you can't control people if they have free will and free thought.
That is true.
Yeah. So but what if you could tap into some of those benefits without actually tripping?
I think that I would love to hear that.
That's microdosing.
Yes.
So microdosing is, we got a disclaimer to go through again. You want to take it this time?
Sure. We are not doctors or mycologists or shamans, just two curious women talking about mushrooms and mindset. Nothing you hear today is a medical advice. Always check with your healthcare provider before trying any supplement or mushrooms, especially the magical kind.
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin is still illegal in most places. So do your homework and stay safe, smart, and illegal.
I love how you 1, 2, 3.
Psilocybin.
Okay. So the definition of microdosing is taking tiny sub-perceptual doses of psilocybin or LSD. And that means usually a tenth of whatever a full dose would be. Wait, I need some water. Did you guys see my mug?
Isn't it cute? I was with you when you bought the mug.
I know. We were doing a bit at Home Goods.
I love Home Goods.
That water is delicious. Give me a sore throat. Okay. The purpose is to enhance the mood, creativity, and focus without hallucination.
So it's like the lowest.
Yeah. And so there are protocols. One is to microdose 1 day and 2 days off, or there's another one that's 3 days, 4 days off. And again, you don't feel it. You don't notice it.
You don't feel anything?
No. I might have to pause for a minute. My throat's on fire. Throat's on fire.
Really? I wonder why.
I don't know, but will you go fill that up
Sure.
for me? It's not going to be enough water.
You want this?
No. Bubbles will hurt. Thank you. Okay. Let me back up a little bit. I'm going to back up to this. Okay. So microdosing.
Yeah.
The definition is to take a tiny sub-perceptual dose of either psilocybin or LSD. And that's usually about a tenth of a full dose. And the purpose is to enhance your mood, creativity, or focus without the hallucinogenic effect. And the goal is that you don't feel it. You're not supposed to feel it. That's why it's called a microdose, but it's doing something. It's still doing something. So there are a couple of protocols that people use for this. And one is you take a microdose 1 day and then you're off for 2 days and then 1 day. And then there's another one where you do either 3 days on, 4 days off, or 4 days on, 4 days off. And then there's a stack where you take psilocybin and lion's mane and niacin. I have tried that. And you get that niacin flush.
I took niacin for my cholesterol.
I take non-flushing for mine. It doesn't do it doesn't.
Oh, but I didn't know that. So when I first got it, I was on a work trip.
Oh my God.
And I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital.
Oh yeah. Okay. So anyway, not medically validated, but there are mixed results, but I know from my personal, it can show slight improvements in mood, focus, and creativity. I know that to be true. And of course, others show the results are similar to placebo. So expectations,
Vary.
vary. And your experience may vary. The risks of doing it is tolerance. Some people experience anxiety, and it's illegal in most places. So there's that.
That's a big one.
A big one. And there's not enough long-term data. But you know what? I think that's because it lives in the shadows, because I think there is more data that could be compiled through people who have tried these methods.
Right.
And why people are drawn to it a lot of times is because of burnout and depression, and they want to feel better, but they don't want to take drugs.
That makes,
which is funny. Did I say that? Drugs, like medical drugs.
Right. Not drugs.
So for me, my first experience in microdosing happened after Lainey died, my cat of 17 years. And I had another cat that was the same age, who was my world. And so I thought, Lainey died, Taylor's next. And so not only was I depressed for what had happened, I was depressed for what I knew was going to ultimately happen. Right. And then I'm like, why live? I mean, I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't, but it was just like, I was in a really, really sad place. I was deeply mourning.
Yes.
And one of my friends had tried microdosing, and I had heard a lot of her experiences. And so I thought, if that will help me get out of bed and
You're gonna
not just
try it.
wake up in doom and gloom, I knew I didn't want to go on antidepressants for mourning the death of
Right.
an animal, So, I did, and it immediately helped me. It immediately helped me. So I know that, and then the other cat came to pass 9 months later. So here I was again, but I was in a better place and equipped to deal with it because I think if I have to share how it feels, when I feel it,
Yeah.
like a dose versus a little bit more, but not a macro, is it feels like my brain is a flower and the bud is opening, like maybe more than one flower. Like I just feel like I have access to parts of my brain that I didn't have before.
So is it like you're thinking about something different? Like, is it
No,
thinking
it's
differently or?
it just feels like there's an opening happening, like an opening. And in that opening, I either feel less depressed or I feel creative.
Okay.
I wrote oh, oh, mushroom down. I thought the power cord was going out. Sorry. Um, I wrote a book, in a weekend.
I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a book that I had already compiled, but or that the text was written, but it had to be organized and compiled as a journal. So, I did that
Wow.
in like 2 days of 12-hour working, and it's not a stimulant. It wasn't a stimulant. It was
Right.
just,
It opened you.
I was in the flow of my creativity like I had never felt before. And then I went on to write, a couple months later, write another book, another children's book, not about mushrooms, but
Well,
so
if I could microdose my laundry pile, just a small amount every 3 days, so it never overwhelms me.
that would be a
Right?
lovely thing, right? Um, I think in science, when I think about the science and the spirituality of uh connecting with nature in that way, because if you want to look at it like that, you're connecting with Mother Earth, something that she creates. um I look at it as underground connectors. It's like we're all, they grow in the
Right.
dark,
Right.
and all that stuff. And human consciousness wants the same thing. They want to reconnect. We want to reconnect to ourselves and to others and to a source. And it's a tool,
I
it's a tool.
do you think that it still gets a bad rap? Like,
Well, yeah, because they don't want to make it legal. um and I'm sure, we probably have all heard the story of the guy who, was he a pilot or did he hijack a plane or something? And it was a small plane. I think it was up in Washington or something,
when
a
was
couple
this?
years ago.
Okay.
And he said he was on a bad mushroom trip. So stuff like that gives it a bad rap.
Right.
But I do know that there are therapists that use microdosing in treating, their
It's
clients.
really interesting because I have never done mushrooms.
Hmm.
I don't know if I've ever wanted to, but when we talk about all the benefits, it makes me wonder why I'm not doing it.
Well, you have to be careful if you're on any kind of medication. And if you're
Right.
on, and again, we're not doctors, but I do know that if you're on any kind of antidepressant, this is not a good mix,
Right.
right? But I know people who have wanted to get off of
And
antidepressants
they
and
do.
with their doctor have eased themselves off and then, found alternative ways. So, if it were me and I had the choice between a synthetic drug, went off of it, I would immediately be suicidal
Right.
versus
Right.
doing microdosing and having incremental, like, openness and less depression and more creativity. What am I going to
Well,
pick?
but right.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to start this, what's the first thing that,
I don't know. I don't know.
I guess they could Google it.
They could Google
Yeah.
it.
No, I was just saying, like, I guess there's places
There are
where,
places, yeah. There's there are places all over the country that, maybe a little underground, but
right.
it's not
You could-
impossible.
You could
Yeah.
find if you wanted to.
Yeah, if you wanted to explore it. Again,
Right.
we're not condoning or recommending, but if it is something that you're naturally going to do, again, be safe, be grounded, have an intention.
Exactly.
In the times that there have been a couple of times when I took more than a microdose because I wanted to feel
Something.
what would happen, and
And what did happen?
well, I meditated. I set an intention to have an insight,
Wow.
and I meditated. We have a friend who had a huge revelation about how she showed up in her partnership with her partner as a result of this, and it blew my mind. It literally blew my mind. I'm like, I want that.
Yeah,
I want, if I have something I need to heal that I don't know about, that's buried in my psyche somewhere, I want it to come to the surface. I want to heal it. I want to feel that, what that felt like when she shared that with me,
right.
because it was amazing. And so
Very powerful.
for me, that's what I wanted to experience. Did I do that? No, but I think I had my own realizations about things, and as a result, my conversations with myself and my questions that I asked myself became more powerful. So over time, it definitely helped me.
I mean, from what people have said and what you've shared, it is very beneficial.
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing negative about it.
No, and I'm sure there are negative stories, but that's not, that hasn't been my experience.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So whether you're into Reishi tea or researching psilocybin therapy, the takeaway is this: mushrooms remind us that everything is connected: mind, body, earth, and spirit.
And please remember, your health decisions are yours to make, ideally with your doctor, not two podcast hosts and a latte.
Oh, definitely not.
Mushroom coffee.
Yeah, mushroom coffee.
Yeah.
I do drink my mushroom coffee in this every morning. Right now, it's just water.
Right. Because she was joking.
So stay curious, stay legal, and as always, stay enlightened. One closet conversation at a time. And I am going to list the mushroom coffees that I drink.
Good.
There are women-owned brands, which I didn't know. Is Mudwater really women-owned? I don't know.
Oh.
My research says that it is. I don't know. Four Sigmatic, I drink that. That's one of the ones I'm going to recommend, but I didn't know it was a woman-owned. We're not affiliated. I love to share what I love and what I use. So we will link all of that in the show notes. And if you learned something today or you laughed today, share this episode with a friend who loves wellness trends and weird science as much as we do. And until next time, I'm Beth.
I'm Jennifer.
And this is Two in the Closet.
See you later.